Reporting on the connection between Governor Brewer's advisors and CCA, Chuck Coughlin's company canceled all of the governor's campaign advertising on CBS 5.
The Brewer campaign decided to cease advertising on the station that has been investigating the governor and her extensive ties to the private prison industry that stands to profit from SB 1070, the landmark anti-immigration law. Phoenix is the biggest city in the state of Arizona. Governor Brewer is up for re-election in November, and her campaign has decided to not advertise on the CBS affiliate in the largest city in the state, a network that has been doggedly investigating her connections to the private prison industry for months now. Now, again, KPHO is a CBS affiliate. We here at MSNBC and our connections to NBC, we have absolutely no stake in their financial future whatsoever. In fact, on the contrary. But regardless, this is not about which station is whose. This is not about which network is which. This is about political retaliation against journalism. This is news. We called the folks who run Governor Brewer's campaign tonight. Her campaign is run by a company called High Ground Public Affairs, which also, as luck would have it, lobbies for the Corrections Corporation of America. We spoke with Jan Brewer's campaign manager, Chuck Coughlin, one of Governor Brewer's advisors who KPHO has been investigating of late. And Mr. Coughlin told us tonight explicitly that the Brewer campaign had advertised with KPHO in the past, but they decided to stop doing so as a result of the, quote, credibility of the journalism on that network. Asked if that was a reference to the investigative journalism that has been done on that network about Jan Brewer, Mr. Coughlin acknowledged that it was. To be clear, Jan Brewer's campaign informed us, in no uncertain terms, that they advertise on the other two networks in Phoenix, but they decided to stop advertising on the CBS station because of them investigating Governor Brewer. That comes directly from Governor Brewer's campaign. Asked specifically if Governor Brewer herself was involved in that decision, in the decision to stop advertising on KPHO as retaliation for their investigations into the governor, her campaign manager told us that Ms. Brewer is clued into everything they do there. He told us, quote, absolutely, it's her campaign. In addition to ending its advertisements on KPHO in retaliation for that company's journalism, the company that runs Governor Brewer's campaign also directed us to a blog post on the High Ground website, a blog post that specifically targets KPHO's investigative reporter, Morgan Lowe. It refers to him as, quote, maniacal, and the entry attacks the network's reporting on Governor Brewer. When we spoke with High Ground tonight, they accused the network of intentionally misleading its viewers. They accused KPHO of misleading its viewers. This is a big development in this story and in the understanding of Arizona Governor Jan Brewer. The governor of Arizona, Jan Brewer, is now retaliating against a television network that is investigating her ties to one of that state's biggest industries, an industry that stands to profit from the anti-immigration law that has made her nationally famous. Joining us now is Morgan Lowe, investigative reporter for KPHO TV in Phoenix. Mr. Lowe, thanks very much for coming back on the show.
Hello, Rachel.
Let me ask you first if I've misstated any of that or if any of that conflicts with your understanding of the situation.
That sounds about right from what I heard.
Okay. What can you tell us about the Brewer campaign's decision to stop advertising on your station?
Luckily, I'm sort of shielded from the advertising area of our TV station. I have the luck to work for a general manager who takes care of all that. I can tell you that I was informed of that decision about 2 weeks ago, about a week before the primary, that people from High Ground had called Channel 5, said they were no longer going to advertise. They didn't give us a reason why, but it came after some of our reporting about the governor's connection to the private prison industry.
Given that you have said on the air that around the time of your investigations and following your investigations, the Brewer campaign had pulled its advertising from your station, I have to ask your reaction tonight. We were very surprised that the Brewer campaign admitted to us flat out that they stopped advertising on your station because of your work. They are admitting to it.
Yeah, I don't really know what to think about that. You know, as a reporter, I try to stay out of the business end of it. Again, I'm lucky to work at a place where I'm kept out of that decision. I can tell you that my bosses have never told me to stop investigating this connection, and I haven't been keyed in on the finances behind this. But I can also tell you that there are various FCC regulations that make our books open to people. So They can come by and see just how much money this cost. I haven't looked at those books. I'm just, we're continuing to ask these questions, and the questions that we're asking still have not been answered.
And I should mention, as an employee of MSNBC, we also are totally insulated from the advertising decisions that are made on this network, as it should be. They shouldn't be able to affect the editorial. Nobody should be able to affect the editorial content of a show by either giving or revoking advertising money. That's part of the idea of a free press. But as I mentioned, Morgan, the media company that runs the Brewer campaign hasn't just arranged for all those advertising dollars to be taken away from your employer. They've also written this really vitriolic blog entry, essentially, attacking you personally, attacking your reporting. They argue that you are intentionally misleading viewers, interviewing people who are biased against this private prison company. What's your response to those accusations?
I read that blog, and my first reaction was, if Mr. Coughlin knew me better, he'd probably have worse things to say about me. But the fact of the matter is, we've been pretty consistent throughout in asking him and letting him know exactly what we want to know. And that blog entry that he released today is pretty consistent with the types of emails I've received from him over the last 3 weeks.
Mr. Coughlin, Chuck Coughlin, doubles as Governor Brewer's campaign manager and the head of a company that lobbies for CCA. Have you ever had any luck asking him about that apparent conflict of interest?
We sent email after email being explicit. There's really one issue we want to know here is, what did he tell the governor about what his client, CCA, may gain from the signing of SB 1070? Did he tell her anything about that? CCA has been pretty all along, they've said that they did not lobby the governor for this, but we have not heard that from Chuck Coughlin. All we've heard from him over and over again is that illegal immigrants picked up off the street in Phoenix on local charges will never end up in a CCA ICE-run facility. And we've done Freedom of Information Act requests from ICE. We've spoken to the folks at ICE. We hear our Sheriff Joe Arpaio here on the air all the time talking about the 30,000 illegal immigrants that were picked up locally that he's turned over to ICE. So the statements he's made really have not rung true.
Morgan Lowe, investigative reporter for KPHO TV in Phoenix, whose station is paying the price for that, but standing up for your reporting and doing so. Thanks for your time tonight. Keep it up and good luck.
You're welcome, Rachel.
Okay, there's a lot to come on the show tonight. We have got what we just covered, which still blows my mind. We've also got the first ever nationally televised interview with the Democrat who's up against the Tea Party's Joe Miller to try to be the next senator from the state of Alaska. We've also got the source of the new anti-Obama conspiracy that Michelle Obama is secretly banning Christmas at the White House. The source, naturally, is a conservative candidate for governor. I'll tell you who. That's all coming up. To disparage Americans who have paid into Social Security their entire working lives, former Wyoming Senator Alan Simpson is using a word I cannot say on basic cable TV. Premium cable, I could in theory, but I probably still wouldn't because I would turn 6 shades of red. At any rate, Alan Simpson, Republican co-chair of the President's Deficit Commission, probably deserves a performance review at this point. Please stay with us for that. If you've seen a lot of headlines this week about how Republicans are totally, definitely 100% going to annihilate Democratic majorities in this year's elections, it is because of this new Gallup poll that's out, where people were asked if they'd rather vote for a generic Republican in the fall or for a generic Democrat. And the generic Republican candidate wins by a big, big margin, 51-41. Of course, that number is the result of polling on a hypothetical, non-specific question. If you ask the people who take polling and prognosticating very seriously in election years, they'll tell you that that is an important result. It's probably to some degree predictive, but the truly predictive polling question this far out may really be about voter enthusiasm. How excited are you about voting? Because the people who are enthusiastic about voting are the ones who are most likely to actually go to the trouble of doing it on Election Day. And by most accounts, Republicans are very excited about voting in the fall, and Democrats are not so excited about voting in the fall. Makes sense when you take the biggest picture possible.